I'd love you.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وصلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد. Continuing with Oliver Twist. سامحوني اتأخرت عليكم الفترة اللي فاتت بس كنت تعبانة شوية. Oliver Twist chapter 5 مكان موقفنا. أتمنى أن انتوا تكونوا استفدتوا من الquestions اللي نزلتها لكم. Good nature is an important character trait we clearly observe in Oliver. Explain supporting your answer with examples from story. وفي الفيديو اللي فات كان فيه شرح ازاي نحل السؤال دوت. Evil characters receive their due punishment at the end of the story. Explain giving two examples. وده لسه بدري عليكم فيه شوية مع كمالة الأحداث بتاعة الترم الثاني. هيبان الأنسر أكتر لأن هيكون عندكم more examples. والسؤال الجميل جدا جدا which shows appearance versus reality theme. Appearance are often deceptive. Explain in reference to the story. وكنا قلنا about the funerals scene وكمان Mr. Sourberry's and Mrs. Sourberry's home. Now in chapter 5 it's the journey to London. He goes to London. مين؟ Oliver طبعا. Oliver looked to the right and to the left, not knowing where to go. He took the decision خلاص إن هو he is going to leave. He wants a new life, and he remembers seeing the cars as they left the town going up the hill. He took the same road. His way lay in front of Mrs. Mann's house. His heart beat quickly. Why his heart was beating quickly? Because he was having very bad memories in that place. When he saw this, but he didn't want to turn back. Besides, it was so early that there was very little fear of his being seen. And this shows again the internal power of Oliver. He was not weak at all. He was respectable. But at the same time, he was having an inner power that started to appear on time. He reached the house. It was all quiet. He stopped and looked into the garden. Child was working there. It was one of the workhouse boys, an old friend. Oliver felt glad to see him. They had been beaten and shut up together many a time. They are friends in suffering and torture. His name, of course, was called Dick. Oliver called him, "Quick, Dick!" And the boy ran to the gate. "Is anyone up?" "Nobody but me." "You mustn't say you saw me, Dick." "Oliver, he wants to say hi to his friend and salute him and saying goodbye to him because he was going to leave, but at the same time he was afraid that maybe someone would see him. I'm running away. They have beaten me and treated me so terribly. I'm going away." "Dick, how ill you look." Of course he was ill because he was hungry. "I heard the doctor tell them I was dying," said the child with a faint smile. "I am very glad to see you, Oliver, but don't stop. This is friendship theme." He was encouraging him to flee out from the torture life. Yes, I will stop to say goodbye to you, Dick. And I know I shall see you again. You will be well and happy, Dick," replied the child. "I hope so." And he was completely desperate because he was believing that he was going to die. "After I'm dead, but not before, I know the doctor must be right, Oliver, because I dream so much of heaven and kind faces that I never see when I am awake." Here Charles Dickens shows how miserable the kids are, that they are foreseeing for or waiting for heaven because they are already living in hell. Kiss me, said the child, climbing up the low gate and throwing his little arms round Oliver's neck. Goodbye. God bless you. It was the first time that anyone had ever asked God to bless Oliver. And through the troubles and changes of his later life, he never once forgot it. It was the first sign of divine care. It was this kind prayer of Dick to Oliver. Oliver ran on, afraid that he might be followed and caught. He sat down by a stone and began to think for the first time where he ought to go and where he ought to live. Stone was marked to show that it was just 70 miles from that spot to London. London, that great big place where nobody, not even Mr. Bumble, could find him there. He jumped to his feet. How could he get there? He had a piece of dry bread, an old shirt, 2 pairs of socks, all tied up in his handkerchief. He had a penny too. But these will not help me to walk 70 miles in the winter time, he thought. He walked 20 miles that day. All the time he ate nothing but a piece of dry bread, and had a few drinks of water which he had begged from the doors of the houses. When night came, he slept in a field. He was frightened at first and very cold and hungry. This is the start of the journey of Oliver Twist from the workhouse, or from his life with Mrs. Mann and the workhouse of Mr. Bumble, to London. Being tired, however, he soon fell asleep and forgot his troubles. Next morning he was cold. He was so hungry that he had to spend his penny on bread. He was having just 1 penny, and he has to spend it because he has an important thing, which is to complete his journey. He walked no more than 12 miles when night closed in again. Another night in the cold air made him worse. His feet hurt, his legs felt weak. He could hardly walk. As the days passed, he grew weaker. Of course, a man gave him a meal of bread. Now, this is an example of God's protection or divine care. That God sent someone to give him food, to support him with some food to be able to complete his journey. A meal of bread and cheese. And an old lady gave him food and some kind words. Some kind words actually was more important to Oliver than food. Without this, Oliver's troubles would have ended in the same way as his mother's. He would have fallen dead on the road. Early on the 7th morning, Oliver walked slowly into the little town of Barney, few miles from London. The sun was rising in all its beauty. Streets were empty. Oliver sat on a doorstep. He was covered in dust. This part or this paragraph shows or the importance of kind words, and this what we have seen exactly with Dick. The Dick was living a miserable life because he cannot find any kind words, but he at the same time was able to give kind words and prayers to Oliver Twist. A beautiful example of people passivity, which leads to dangerous consequences. How people were passive, that they don't even see others. They are only caring about themselves. They are so selfish. People began to pass. Some of them stopped to look at Oliver for a while, but no one spoke to him. Then he saw a boy looking at him. The boy walked up to Oliver. "Hello, what's trouble?" This shows the complete innocence of Oliver. He was a strange boy, very dirty, short, with ugly eyes. He was about Oliver's age, but he had all the airs of a man. He wore a man's coat, which reached nearly to his feet, and a man's hat, which looked as if it would fall off at any moment. He asked Oliver, "What is that?" Oliver said, "I'm very hungry and tired. I've walked a long way. I've been walking these 7 days." And he started to cry. "7 days? Oh, I see. You need food, and you shall have it. I haven't much money, but I will pay for you. Up you get." He helped him up to rise and took him to an inn where he bought some meat and bread and something to drink. Oliver had a good meal with his new friend. "Going to London," said the strange boy when Oliver had at length finished. "Yes. Have you got anywhere to stay?" "No." "Money?" "No." Oliver asked him, "Do you live in London?" He said, "Yes, I do. When I'm at home, I suppose you want somewhere to sleep tonight, don't you?" Oliver, "I do indeed. I haven't slept under a roof for a long time." "Don't trouble yourself any more about it," said the boy. "I've got to be in London tonight, and I know an old gentleman who will give you a bed for nothing. He knows me very well." We will stop here علشان خاطر الفيديو. It's going to be too long. وهنكمل chapter 5 in another video. Hopefully that you have enjoyed it. مش هتأخر عليكم. Take care of yourself. Wish you safety and wellness. Goodbye.